Well, hello and welcome. You're watching SABC News Channel, independent and impartial. This is The Globe. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tsipiso Umakwetla. We're going to start the program by taking you straight to the East London International Convention Centre, where my colleague Samkele Maseko is standing by. The Eastern Cape Elective Congress still experiencing problems with the issue of credentials. Samkele?
Okay, guys, are you ready?
So just switching on quickly.
Yeah, because I need to go back to plenary. So. Agents one is on our live.
Sure.
We on air.
Okay. No, thanks, colleagues. We just felt that we should come back again and give you feedback of the proceedings. We had learned and noticed that if we do not update you, some of the destructive messages that are being planted out there to suggest that conference is collapsing could end up being believed by the many viewers out there who are really watching all updates that relate to the conference. A conference of the ANC is a very important platform for communities in the provinces where such conferences are happening. So you would imagine almost everyone, cadres, those that work with the movement, even in government, everyone is really glued on their television sets, on their radios, to try and really establish what could be happening here. We can assure them that the conference is proceeding as planned. We had met through the steering committee of conference with all of the regional secretaries to attend to all of the issues that would have been raised earlier as it related to the adoption of credentials. We also got a briefing from the National Dispute Resolution Committee on the work that they've also been doing to make sure that all of the issues that were brought before them are accordingly processed and an outcome is then placed before conference. We are hoping, because as now in plenary in a closed session, delegates are interacting with the work of the steering committee, because the steering committee now came back to now place its own report before conference. Once that is done, we expect that they will then move to adoption of credentials. That will then allow the other processes to then unfold. So where we are, we still have got a conference full in session. There is nothing that suggests to us that the conference will be disrupted. We are doing everything we can in our power to make sure that we rise and provide the necessary leadership, working together with the province, with the leagues, alliance partners who are here, National Executive Committee members who are here, members of the NDRC, almost each and every structure of the ANC necessary to run conference is here and doing what has got to be done to make sure that when we rise here, we have got a leadership with a renewed mandate that will have emerged out of a democratic process that all of the members will have participated fully in, and that they too will have been given the space to voice whatever issues that they may have. What is interesting about conference of the ANC is that when cadres raise issues, they are doing so because they want to contribute to the credibility and integrity of conference and satisfy themselves that the issues they may have had as concerns have been attended to. So we are quite comfortable with what is happening here. Well, of course, it's taking a bit of time, but we'll imagine that it's because of the size of the delegation that we are having to deal with. I mean, just branch delegates alone are well over 1,300. Then you add the 10% of that constituted by your leagues, it's another 138 or so delegates. That would be your REC or PTT, because the constitution of the ANC is such that in the conference of the ANC, elective conference of the ANC, 90% of those who make up that conference would be delegates elected from branches to come and represent their own branches as basic units in those conferences. The remaining 10% is then shared between, if it's in the case of a province, if you've got a provincial executive committee, it will be the provincial executive committee, and then it will also then be your other leagues, the Veterans League, if it exists in that space, the ANC Youth League, and the ANC Women's League, because these are important auxiliaries of the African National Congress. They do participate in the full political life of the ANC. So we felt we must deal with that, and then if there are questions from yourselves which may require us to clarify, we do so. But rest assured, conference is proceeding. The mood is that of a conference here.
I have a question.
Yes.
The report from the steering committee, is it what the delegates are currently engaging, or are there new issues that are arising? I don't know what to ask you, Pule, because you said things that are happening inside. You are not going to discuss them with us, but I feel like...
no, don't worry. On this is a very important aspect, even for the viewers at home.
Okay.
This we can quickly clarify.
Okay. Are there new issues, or are there issues?
It's not necessarily new issues. What we did as the steering committee was to then isolate all of the issues and then say, what are the key issues that require a resolution from our part? And then we dealt with those. But of course, there will be other issues that delegates bring up, and our duty is to provide the necessary clarity if those issues were really brought to our attention prior. Does that help?
Pule, from the Mabe Guardian.
Yes.
For clarity on the security matter, there has been some delegates who have complained around the reinforcement of security, apparently security which is randomly checking in terms of what's going on when it comes to the delegates and what they carry. Is there a concern by the ANC that this might devolve into something that is violent?
Well, from where we are sitting, we have not really arrived at that point. It would have been matters of security just around your access control and all of that. But inside the conference plenary, it's really ourselves with the delegates. And
pictures of security?
Well, it was earlier on, because we had received a tip of ourselves as well of a situation that warranted that they could go in there and check. Remember, we have got a duty. Just as the responsible leadership of the African National Congress, we have got a responsibility to make sure that each and every delegate that is here, including yourselves, feel protected and safe. So when we get tip-offs of things that might undermine or compromise the security of those venues, we ought to be seen acting in the interest of the people that are attending. We need to make sure that yourselves go back to your newsrooms safe and happy, not with the outcomes, but because you were given a platform to be able to do your work. So that's why we have to, when we get the tip of that note, something that requires our attention, we have to look into those things. Yes.
From ENCA, is the ANC leadership looking at probably adding another day for this conference? It was meant to be closed tomorrow by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Is it wrapping up tomorrow, or you already thinking about another day?
Well, of course, we are already thinking about what is practically possible under the conditions. If conditions permit that we go beyond, we'll have to make sure that those that are handling logistics could be able to do the necessary arrangements. You would imagine that when you sit a conference, you have to hire a venue, and that venue is hired according to a number of days. You also have got to allocate your resources, budgetary resources, to be able to fulfill the convening of conference. So there are a number of those implications that when you've got these time pressures, you've got to look at. But that is a matter that both the steering committee working together with the PTT would have to look into and say what are the implications if this must go beyond its planned time frame.
With the SABC, Pule, you mentioned something like the participation of structures by virtue of their existence in the province. I overheard some delegates complaining that it seems the Veterans League are not allowed to participate because seemingly they don't exist in the province. Has that been sorted out, and has that been one of the main causes of it?
Well, just for the record, yes, of course, that has also been an issue from what we're dealing with. They were part of those structures that were accommodated as part of the 10%. Just to clarify you, the participation of structures of the ANC in a conference does not necessarily have to relate with the structures existing at that level. You'd imagine a province like the Eastern Cape surely has got veterans. I mean, great luminaries of the African National Congress, Nelson Mandela, O.R. Tambo, came from here. So there's no way that, it's not possible that you'll not have veterans in the Eastern Cape. For instance, when we go to a national conference of the ANC, we say 10% gets to be given to the leagues or structures, NEC and all of that. We can go and decide to take Amos, who is a branch member of the ANC Youth League, and make them a delegate. You'd recall what happened in Polokwane. There are many comrades who came from provinces who were made part of the national delegation of the ANC Youth League. It happens like that all the time. So I'm just picking up on these lived experiences that you are aware of because you have been covering politics for a while, that we have done it before. You know, when we were in eThekwini the other week, cadres would also have selected some of the comrades who come from lower structures to be able to fit into that 10%. Because when you have got a higher number of delegates, means the 10% will be higher. So when you slice it according to the structures you have, so that now they start having more, start sitting with 30 or so. Now, if the structure only has got 20 in terms of its own composition, it means it must go and get the 10 somewhere. It will have to be from amongst its own members who are members in good standing of that structure. So the situation of the Veterans League really fit into that province.
Mr. Samkele here at the SABC. When is this conference when is this conference going to commissions? Because clearly with you still stuck on credentials, it essentially means if you defer for another day, you are just deferring for voting and you'll have minimal time for policy discussions. When are you going to go to these commissions, or will these commissions, just like the 2018 conference of the ANC in KZN, which never went to commissions till today? Thank you.
Okay, just to assist there, you were with us in Mpumalanga, if I recall. So we are most likely to apply the Mpumalanga approach if they proceed. The Mpumalanga approach works like this. When they do nominations for additionals, for instance, at the point when you are preparing your ballots, you then allow them to break into commissions. And then you will be collecting comrades, delegates from commissions to go and vote. So that's what we normally do, because then it becomes a bit effective, it moves faster for us. We did the same in eThekwini, and it worked. You know, so we over the years, I think we too have developed the necessary capacity to understand what needs to be done to make sure that when conference rises, at least it has also carried forward that critical part of making sure that discussions are also held by those who are delegates. Because this is really about them shaping and determining the path that the ANC has to take in the province. So if they don't have those discussions, you'd imagine that then they take away that role of conference, of producing a program. Because that's what conference must do.
Okay, Thanks. I will ask Sandra from the Dispatch. Pule, you just mentioned that you guys have received a tip-off that had warranted you guys to send in troops, security personnel inside plenary. Could you elaborate on the tip-off that you were talking about?
Well, I'm not sure what you want me to really elaborate on. Tip-offs are tip-offs. No, man, more you need to just make sure. It happens all the time. I mean, we always have got security personnel in conferences. And all the time, they have to, sometimes it does not necessarily have to be a big threat. You have to make sure that from time to time, you do what at SABC they call sweeping. So when people have been out of a venue, when they go back, you have to make sure that you conduct the necessary sweeping, just in case there might just be something that requires you to act upon.
Yeah, but when you're saying a tip-off, it's like someone called and says there was someone with a weapon or...
No, not like that. Remember, when people are out of conference and then someone picks up something that they feel need to be attended to, they will say so. But in a conference, we take everything serious. You understand? So akho xesha lomdlalo in a conference. Everything is serious. Nama ungathi globe yala siyiboni kahle, siyayi-attenda quickly to check if is it really a globe or is something else. Kwaba kanjalo conference. So nama singabona nje iphephenyana esingali understand ukuthi isicephezana or intoni siyama silijonga. Yamba njalo into yenkomfa.
It's time to overlap from the delegates first. Are you guided by any legal opinion during the deliberations inside?
Why would we be guided by legal opinion? I mean, we're an organization that has got a constitution, and the constitution of the organization really outlines and articulates how we're expected to do our work. We are not we are not a judicial body ourselves, so we can't be guided by legal opinions on how we run a political party. If there are matters that were placed before the courts, and the courts had pronounced themselves as people who had subscribed and affirmed constitutional democracy, we will then align ourselves with such. But in terms of running our conference, we're really guided by our own guidelines. We're guided by the constitution of the ANC, our own internal processes, to make sure that really everything is done in accordance with those processes. But the minute we start to run conference of the ANC guided by the courts, then we're becoming a judicial body. So the ANC cannot divorce itself from its own constitution, which outlines and articulates how process of the ANC are supposed to run. When all provinces of the ANC prepare for regional and provincial conferences, including ourselves at the national level for national conference, we'll develop guidelines. These guidelines will really outline the roadmap and the work that our structures are expected to do and what they are supposed to meet as a threshold for them to be able to participate at the conference of the African National Congress.
Mtila?
Just on that, has it then been decided what will happen to the manipulated branches, for example, in the WB Khubusani region as well as the Krisani region? Will they be allowed to vote? And in answering, Samkele suggested that if they proceed, is there a chance that this conference will not sit?
Well, this conference is sitting. I mean, will not, it's something of yesterday. You are in conference, that's why you are here.
Is there a chance that it will collapse?
No, I mean, what we can't need. Conference is sitting. We are in conference, that's why conference is proceeding. So there's no chance. I mean, how can you have a chance of something when you are in it? You are already in conference, but we are looking for chance. Chance here. Conference is sitting. That's why we are coming here to give you updates. These updates are necessary to make you understand what conference is dealing with. So that's why, I mean, we really respect the role that you guys in the media play. So we have to come back and give you feedback from time to time. That's how much we value your role in this conference. If we're ignorant of your role, we would not be coming and giving you updates. So conference is sitting.
But there's a threat that you might collapse.
Yeah, to a guy.
We were being told about the disruption.
Yeah, to a guy. No. Really cannot go and a sure threat. Sure.
The beefing up of security.
But members of the media, I have clarified myself. In conference of the ANC, we always have security who deal with access and all of that, and make sure that everyone who's at conference feels safe. We don't allow, for instance, people to bring dangerous weapons in a conference of the African National Congress. We do that all the time. It's not, we are not starting it with the Eastern Cape. All our conferences run like that. Now, if there are issues that you hear whispers, let me call them whispers. If you pick up whispers while you are busy in the conference vicinity, you cannot then want the national spokesperson of the ANC to legitimize whisper, gossip. No, you guys cannot.
Okay. Are there any new takers before we take Goke?
Yeah.
Okay, Sipa?
Sipa came up from Middle Africa. I'm not sure if maybe I didn't hear you properly when I was here at the back. Now, I just want to ask, currently, I know you said not to ask about what's happening inside, but I just want to ask about where currently you are in terms of, I know because you had to adjourn because there were issues of adopted credentials. Has that part of the process, has that happened?
That is what we assist with inside. We came back, we met with regional secretaries. It is happening.
Is it happening currently?
We're talking as it happens. Yes.
Okay. Goke?
I wanted to touch on that issue, Pule, of what is happening inside. My understanding is that inside, they are discussing the report of the steering committee on credentials.
True.
Then they will move to the issue of whether to adopt those credentials or not. Hence the question about possibility of this conference collapsing. It's not gossip, it's not hearsay. This conference, according to the alert issued by the ANC, was meant to be wrapped up today.
Yes.
It's day 3, you have not moved an inch. So it's not hearsay, it's not gossip. Your conference is delayed. And the question about you being adamant that is it not going to collapse is a genuine concern and is a genuine question.
I'm not saying the questions are not genuine, but I mean, gossip can also come across as genuine.
No, but it's not gossip that you have not moved an inch.
Well, I'm not sure about that one because we are here. We are here. We had set a meeting of the steering committee, had done the work that we are expected to do. And we are paying serious attention, like I said when we spoke earlier, on each and every concern or dispute that is raised, which can ultimately undermine or compromise conference moving ahead. Because it is in our interest that a conference of the African National Congress, this important platform, a festival of ideas, can be able to proceed and produce outcomes that will contribute to the living conditions of our people on the ground. I take the issues that Simon and yourself raised seriously. I also have got a responsibility myself. Maybe you don't realize in the media, very often when you bring these things up, when we live here, we also do more dipstick ourselves. So your questions do enlighten us to also be aware of what we might not know. So don't think that when I'm saying is gossip, I take it lightly. No. It's a matter that when I get back there, I have to brief the leadership. I get it na ANC. I just happen to be spokesperson ANC. So I get the Pule. So province. Cadres, I'm now going to be talking to the media. These are the issues. I go to pass on low affair like a tomaga media. I very so. So when you have raised issues, can raise the issues. Can raise the issues and there's no difficult divorce and leadership, there is this issue that is coming up. It's important that we put because until you move around, people talk to yourselves. So as long as we undermine Anthony Joy, we will not be serious, Pella. If no, I mean we know we pick up things. Earlier on when we're here, you raised issues, and I want to raise it with them that some of these issues that are coming from the media are as follows. Because there are things that we might not know. That you people out of being here interacting with everyone, because in any event, so I not too much. So you can talk to anyone. Just grab any leader, ask questions, and when they tell you things, then you pick up that, but this might pose as a threat.
Okay.
Mr. Mabe, you see, you're contradicting Miss Stella or Mrs. Stella Tindisa Abraham here. She came on this platform and said it's chaotic inside. There are those whom simply do not want to adopt credentials and their patience is waning thin on them. and if push comes to shove, they will simply put it to the vote.
No, that's fine.
When a leader of your own party, a PTT member, I assume spokesperson of this PTT, goes to the extent of saying it's chaotic inside. If a person says it's chaotic, those are the similar scenes in 2017 that ultimately led to the Festival of Chairs, which currently it's a festival of credentials.
Okay, no, that's fine. Just to assist you, Samkele, I'm not contradicting Stella at all. At the point when Stella spoke to yourself is before this exercise. And at that time, indeed, it was chaotic. But we had met as the steering committee of conference, we have met with regions and then prevailed on comrades on the need for us to make sure that conference doesn't collapse. Now, when we came in back now, we are now placing that report, whose work was a consequence of the chaos earlier. But since we've been back here, are you getting a sense of chaos? It's no chaos. We went back, we spoke to the regional leadership of the ANC across different regions. We are even allowing delegates in plenary to engage that report. The expectation is that when they complete with that, we'll then move and adopt credentials. You do not adopt credentials without allowing cadres to raise their own issues. Because the outcome of conference of the ANC must be embraced by everyone who is in conference. You can rush to vote, but if you rush to vote on credentials that are not entirely accepted by those that are in conference, you know what will happen. That leadership that will emerge is going to be undermined. And when that happens, it brings in all manner of things in the ANC. Divisions, we disintegrate. And when an ANC disintegrates, its ability to govern and lead people better also gets to be compromised. So we need to understand that. So there's no contradiction. It's just that we are now dealing with that earlier chaos by making sure that we assure our comrades that every issue that they had raised has been sufficiently addressed.
Have you not taken over communication powers from the province?
No, not at all. Not at all. You are being chaotic. Yes.
Okay, your answer. Siri?
Thank you, Tiri, my dear, from Eyewitness News. Pule, I tried to not ask questions, now I just want to be quiet. However, though, you've got to be able to accept that you are disingenuous in that a lot of the questions that were asked from you by journalists around issues of a collapse of conference, issues about concerns about the security, you failed to then give a proper answer and explanation, and then going backwards to admit that there was a point where there was chaos. Can the ANC maybe give us a little bit of honesty and insight to, is the security there because there was chaos earlier? That doesn't connect for me. You say that you're not contradicting Mr. Landabeni, but at the same time, you're shutting us down when people ask genuine questions about concerns around the collapse. Surely those two things feed into one another.
No, I'm not. No, but I'm not. I did say that one of the immediate tasks I will do when I leave here is to make sure that I also place what your journalists are raising with the steering committee, because they could be aware of things that I'm not aware of. So to avoid getting into a long thing, it's better. So then when I come back again, then I'm able to say, okay, from what Simon raised, what Spamandla raised, what Lizega raised, this is what I've established. So that's what I'm doing. But there is no point that we are not going to be able to attend to this. If there is an issue or we get what I called earlier a tip-off, it doesn't have to be a major risk, Tsidi. Anything that suggests that we need to really look into the welfare, the safety, the comfort of delegates, we have to attend to.
And I'm addressing you being testy with journalists asking us particular questions while there's legitimate cause for those questions. That's actually what I'm addressing, Luan.
No, I accept that.
That's fair.
I accept that, and what I will do when I leave here, I will go and do my little investigation, and if I discover something, I will come back to journalists who have raised those specific questions and clarify. Yes.
Don't you think it is regrettable and also a shame that this conference that has been postponed for more than 3 times is facing this stalemate about the issues that had been raised before and that have led to it being postponed in the past?
Well, I mean, of course, it is quite concerning, but we are doing everything else in our power to make sure that conference doesn't collapse. It's actually in our interest, in the interest of this leadership, to make sure that conference can proceed and do what it was convened for. So we need to rise and provide leadership. We need to appeal to the conscience of everyone who is inside plenary to work together with us, the provincial structures, their regional leadership, to make sure that conference can do what it was convened for.
Just one last question from me.
No, can we just allow sanity to prevail? Sipa, I'm noting you, Lizeka, Ntewo, and I think it's going to be the last
you don't have their face.
Yeah.
Okay, but I just wanted to ask, I mean, looking back now, hindsight, there were talks of a postponement during the week leading up to this conference and saying that some members of the PTT were requesting postponement. Hindsight now, looking at where you currently are with the issues happening there, do you think that maybe you should have just taken their advice and postponed this conference?
Well, I don't think that we have really arrived at that point now. We will be able to make a determination, if any, once we have been able to engage with all of the issues. Where we are now, we are doing our best to make sure that the necessary leadership is provided. We prevail on our delegates so that conference can really conclude on what it was convened for.
Lisa?
Just clarity-seeking question, and it's around your constitution and what it says. Does the constitution allow for delegates to be changed during conference?
Well, in terms of the guidelines of the ANC, because that is where you will really deal with the issue of delegates. So the fact that you have got your National Dispute Resolution Committee, which was made a permanent structure by the 54th National Conference of the ANC, if out of resolving disputes, the NDRC arrives at a determination that then alters a delegation of a certain ward, such will then be implemented in that way. They've got those powers.
Okay, the 2017 the 2017 conference was plunged into chaos as a result of disagreement over credentials. 2022, we are faced with a similar problem. Is there anything that the ANC is missing, or maybe that the ANC is failing, just to master? Because it seems this is going to repeat itself even in the future in different conferences.
Well, we have not really arrived at that conclusion ourselves, that there could be challenges in terms of how we do our own credentials. What we need to really do as the African National Congress is to make sure that we are thorough, meticulous in terms of our own processes. The new membership system that we are now utilizing, which we have used to run the Provincial Conference of Mpumalanga and all the other regional conferences that said, is actually beginning to assist us in terms of isolating some of those things. We are hoping that going forward, we should not have problems. You know, what sometimes gives rise to these challenges would be suspected manipulation, gatekeeping, you know, those things. When you must adopt credentials, they then come up. You know, so you try and deal with those things. I mean, one I can share with you my experience as the former Treasurer General of the ANC Youth League. When we had left our regions and provinces to run with some of the things, you would have really interesting naughtiness. You know, cadres just using death certificates. So you had to deal with those things. Up until by the time we left the Youth League, we had dealt with that road, because it was always creating a stalemate. When you get into a provincial or regional conference, a comrade just stands up there and says, no, Marama comrade, what 15 in this area? 15 of them have long passed on. So now sometimes the conduct of individual cadres of the African National Congress can then delay conferences authenticating, you know, stuff like credentials, which are critical to the life of a conference. So now in the ANC, we are seeing that there is more improvement, there is an appreciation of process. Where issues are raised and they have not been resolved at the provincial level, you escalate them and attend to them at the national level.
Okay.
There's a new hand here.
Yeah, but comrades, you need to start wrapping up.
Just one question.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Pule. Ovino Vukela from Broadcast Mail. My question is, now that you know that the credentials are happening in your statement right now, but seemingly they're still taking their time, why don't you just postpone the event as usual? Because seemingly we're not going anywhere with this. People are here with their own, some people are here with their own logistics money. They're postponing frequently. Surely, where are you guys going with this?
Well, I hear your concern, but the fact that we are now going to plenary and giving a report of the steering committee together with the regional secretaries, that alone should signal progress. As I walked out of plenary to come and talk to yourselves, we were really allowing comrades to bring up their issues. I'm sure but when I get there, the life of conference would also have moved further forward. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll come and give you update where issues have been raised which we could not sufficiently clarify. We'll come back and make sure we give you the feedback. Where's my mask?
Well, it's been a lengthy press briefing there at the East London International Convention Centre. It's all around the Eastern Cape Provincial Elective Congress. It's been underway for the third day today. More disruptions, especially over the issue of credentials. So it's really come down to two regions and the voting powers of the provincial task team. Okay, let's do that again. So it's really come down to the voting of two areas that are under contestation, including the voting rights of the National Executive Committee, the Provincial National Executive Committee there. So delegates want to have their status clarified there. So earlier on, the disputes were about the Regional Executive Committee's right, to vote along with the Veterans League. And according to party insiders, the Credentials Committee had to be referred back to sign off. And as you heard, Pule Mabe, the national spokesperson of the ANC, when he was asked the question whether or not plenaries will go ahead, and if so, when will voting, get underway, he said that they might have to end up reverting to what the Mpumalanga province had to do in terms of voting. That too was also affected by disruption. So the Eastern Cape, it was expected to have at least 1,532 delegates that were to attend, but we understand, according to the figures that we had, only 1,494 have registered. The number of voting delegates for each region, and I want to point at the one that's currently considered problematic. You remember that there was a lot of talk about the WB Khubisana region that has 114. It went to court to try and interdict the conference. So lots of eyes on this conference as the disputes, many will say their failure to be, ironed out will lead to questions about the strength of the person who will be vying for the top positions. All eyes on President Cyril Ramaphosa, although pundits say he is close to Oscar Mabuyane and his winning that could strengthen his position. There are those who are raising the issue of contenders. The names of the Treasurer General Pule Mabe have been thrown up. The names of the former House Minister Dr. Zweli Mkhize also have been thrown up. And it all comes down to the unity slate. There have been efforts between the Mabuyane and Madikizela camps to have people rally around at least the same candidates. delegates. Those talks have failed, according to some, but we will go back to Samkele Maseko, my colleague, who is there at the East London International Convention Centre, to find out a little bit more about the disruptions there. That's at the Eastern Cape Elective Congress. All right, let's speak to my colleague Abongile Jantjies, who is there at the Congress. Abongile, we've just watched that lengthy press conference. Some of the journalists accusing the ANC national spokesperson of being stroppy when asked certain questions which they deem important, which they hope would help them understand what is going on, when he referred to quite often the issue of rumors and conjecture. Just take us through what we've just seen there, and